All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dibs, and this space is all about honest conversations at the crossroads of health, community, and care for folks who too often get left out of the narrative. Today, I'm joined by Vero Connan, a registered dietitian doing hands-on work in Parc-Extension, Montreal, one of the city's most economically challenged and culturally rich neighbourhoods. She works primarily with asylum seekers and visible minorities on food security, nutrition, and well-being. We talk about real barriers people face accessing food and healthcare, the power of community projects like gardens, and what it means to offer care that honors people's lived experiences. If you've got a friend, colleague, or community worker whose story deserves to be heard, especially around holistic affirming health, please grab their contact or send them to the podcast page because I'm always looking for voices like Vero's. Welcome to the podcast, Vero.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm super stoked that you agreed to come and share what your work and life is like. So for people who have no idea who you are and what you do, just please give me a little spiel about what you do for work.
Yeah. So, my name is Veronique, Vero, however you want to say it. And I'm a registered dietitian. I work in Montreal, specifically within a community that is quite vulnerable. And so I work specifically with children 0 to 5, and within the perinatal sphere as well. So people who are pregnant, postnatal, all of that. And what's pretty unique about where I work is that it serves a population that is probably the most vulnerable in Montreal, probably the most vulnerable in Quebec. And there is a very high population of asylum seekers, a huge diaspora from Southeast Asia, from India, Pakistan, Arab-speaking countries, even slowly more and more people from South America as well. So just a very big immigrant population. And you can kind of see it in the way I think that they are treated by the various systems around, including our healthcare system. So it adds an additional challenge, and it's been a very unique experience for sure.
And how does your approach or sort of daily activities differ working with that type of population as opposed to if you worked, let's say, downtown or in an affluent suburb?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've learned to become, I don't know, maybe a bit more of a social worker than I thought I'd ever be. Because for me to do my work as a clinical dietitian, for me to give you information that would help you from in that sphere, you have to be able to pay your rent. You have to be able to satisfy all of the other needs within your hierarchy. And for most of the families that I work with, they just can't. So it has changed the way that I approach nutrition, especially because I want what I say to be something that is actually realistic and doable for someone, no matter where they're coming from, no matter what situation they're in. And sometimes you just have to meet them where they're at. If a client is new to the country, doesn't speak any of the official languages of your country, that in and of itself is quite challenging, but we have technology, so we use it. But then there's the added, challenge of, do you even know how to get to my community health center? Do you know how to cross the road? Like, these things really come up as do you know how the stoplight works? So a lot of things that I assumed a lot of times that people had tables that they were eating on or beds that they were sleeping in, and that was not always the case. And so it's, I guess, forced me to not assume basically anything and to really, really probe and to ask as many questions as I can and get a good of a sense of your current situation, what you can do, what you can't do. And where you're at in terms of your capacity to change or your willingness to change or what you actually need. Do you need material goods? Do you need food? Or do you need knowledge about a specific bodily pathway that you maybe don't even have the mental capacity to retain, kind of thing? So it has definitely shifted the way that I just can't assume anything anymore, which I think is a really good thing for health professionals to have to practice through. Because what we want at the end of the day is our knowledge to go somewhere. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great for all health practitioners to not assume someone has access to certain things or someone's day looks a certain way because you never know what you're working with.
Yeah.
I have so many questions in my head, and I'm really trying to face myself. Before we move on too far, I wanted to talk about specifically what you know, or what grinds your gears about sort of the the differences between a dietitian, a nutritionist, and
Oh,
all these
God.
other words. Yeah, okay, right. That people call themselves, and like what specifically about, because I know it's very, very different, even within North America.
Yeah.
Canadian system and the US system is very different. And I
Yeah.
compared them all once to the Australian one as well, and everyone sort of has different sort of requirements to become each thing, and what powers each
Hmm.
person possesses isn't necessarily what they claim. Like a lot of people claim that they know more than they do. So I don't know. Give me your top, whatever is bubbling inside you. I can see your face. Whatever's bubbling inside you, come out now. Just give me a little bit of a rant about that.
Oh, let me get started. I mean, so it's quite annoying actually, because even within Canada, it differs by province. So in Quebec, because we have French as the language, nutritionist is the French word that describes what I am, as well as dietitian. So there's dietitian, there's diététiste, there's nutritionniste. So all of that is the official terminology that describes me, which is a nutrition professional that has done a full bachelor's degree, stages, and is a part of a dietetic order. And so each province has their own order. And legally, I have to be a part of this order to practice, similar to doctors and nurses. I pay money every year. This order protects the public from me. And so we have to abide by a certain standard and all of that. If in the rest of Canada, you would be considered a dietitian, a registered dietitian. If you are seeing studies for or meet someone who calls themselves a nutritionist, in theory, anyone can just call themselves that. So it's not a regulated term. And so in theory, if you study and I don't know, further your studies in a master's degree in nutrition, but are not a dietitian, like in theory, you're a nutritionist, but you're not a dietitian. Like you're knowledgeable about nutrition, but you're not potentially working where a dietitian would work, which would be more so like hospital settings, clinic settings, things like that. And every country seems to have a different way to describe us. There's registered dietitian nutritionist. There's all of these different types of acronym. And so it really does differ by country, and even in Canada by province. But just for people to know that there is a difference between different types of nutrition professionals, and there's only one that I know of that you have like a license to be. And so that keeps us accountable. We have to do a certain amount of educational hours every year, and just make sure that we're staying on top of the new knowledge, the new science, everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
And do you call the people? I know this is like a trending topic right now. Do you call the people that you work with patients or clients?
So, because I work a lot in French, we use the term clients quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it would differ in English Canada, but
Okay.
for me personally, like I don't see it too differently.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on the setting too. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to know for when I referred now when I to talk about your clients. So what is something that a client has come in to you, and potentially they've worked with someone before who is not a registered licensed dietitian? What is something that someone has come in before and told you that they learnt from a professional that you've been like, oh my God, I can't believe someone told you to do this?
That's a good question. Hmm. Putting me on the spot here. Let's see. I I mean, I think the general consensus that I get from these types of interactions is that they were often given very, very, very specific like to do's and not to do, and that's always a red flag. Like
Okay.
pretty much always a red flag. Um, uh, and I think if something, I'm being extremely vague right now, but if something seems too good to be true, especially when it comes to nutrition, it often is. Because even the science around nutrition it's difficult to do because we don't eat vitamins, we eat foods, but yet we're trying to study vitamins and everything is just very, very gray. But we all eat food, and I think people really want a black and white answer,
Yeah.
which gets people frustrated. And I get it. You want to seek the quick fix, the just tell me what I should put in my smoothie every morning to do this or to do that. And I'm sorry, it's just not like that. There's a lot of things that impact our lifestyle, and they're often not specific foods and ingredients. It's many different things, which people don't always want to hear. So I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir because I experienced the exact same thing with my clients. Whether we're talking about food or exercise or whatever, they're just like, I want just, tell me in black and white or just in less than an A4 piece of paper, like give me the instructions to make all my problems go away. And I'm like, I can't do that because you are you, I am me. And if you watch I'm sure maybe perhaps you have watched these same TED Talks. There's a couple of TED Talks that are like titled The Perfect Diet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen them. And the two probably most popular ones that I've seen, I love them because at the end, they're correct. They're like, the perfect diet is the one that's right for you. They don't actually preach that, the perfect diet is a ketogenic diet or the Mediterranean diet or blah, blah, blah. Because it is everyone's unique and individual, and it does depend a lot on, where you've come from, what you're brought up on, your genetics, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So I feel your pain when people just want the answer immediately. So for people that are listening that sort of are at a crossroads with what to do with their food intake, I guess, and they're a bit struggling on what little changes to make themselves feel, let's just say, more energetic and have less sluggish, more energetic, less brain fog. What are some of the tips, like top 3 tips that you would give somebody if that was their health goal?
I think hydration is probably a big one. I know that I feel like when I was a kid, I barely drank water ever. Like this just wasn't a thing. But now everyone's got big jugs in their hands.
And can I ask what you learned about that? Because in my personal training course, they taught us that you should drink 1 liter of water per 25 to 30 kilograms that you weigh. And then someone else told me that's just BS. And I don't know, like what measurement do you use?
So I think clinically it really varies on the type of population. But like in community practice now, like just dealing with the gen pop, it's usually like, what color is your urine? And
as simple as that.
And like, and so there's nothing left to really question. Is it like light yellow? Perfect. Is it darker in the morning? That's normal. Like that's kind of as clinical as I get, but it's usually around like 1.5 to 2 liters a day for the average person. But then I deal a lot with pregnant people, and as much as they pee all the time, you still need to continuously fill it back up. But yeah, the color of your urine in most cases doesn't fail. Yeah.
And do you know about the different colors of urine and what they mean? Because I have read some crazy things about like purple urine, and do you know anything about that?
I don't know much about purple urine. I know that like beets will do it, and certain types of vitamins. Definitely certain types of vitamins. Obviously red is bad. And tea colored is bad. But there's usually only one healthy color.
Yes. Okay. As clear as possible.
Yeah, not like water, but like a
Yeah.
little yellow, you know? Yeah,
Okay, good to know.
yeah.
And I've got a doctor coming on soon, and I'll ask her about the purple pea.
Yes. Please let
um,
me know. Please let me know.
I'll let you know. Because I remember once posting a chart on Instagram about, different colored peas of what they meant, and one said like purple doesn't exist, haha. And then a friend of mine in Australia was like, I have purple pea sometimes because of this condition, blah blah blah. And I was like, excuse me? So sorry for like not
Fascinating.
telling a lie, for not including your people in my post. Anyway, um, and okay, so obviously I'm a personal trainer. The biggest thing that people talk about is weight loss, and food, and that is what my listeners probably want to talk about, which is some of them, but not all of them, because a lot of my listeners don't really care about losing weight. They care about functional fitness, and I also care about functional fitness. But there are a few reasons why people want to lose weight that are um yeah, are sort of out of the control. Like a lot of my clients are getting gender affirming top surgery. They get told to be a certain BMI before surgery, or trans femme people having bottom surgery, etc., etc. So for someone that needs to lose weight in a healthy way and doesn't want to be doing anything too extreme, or yeah, sort of not affecting their mental health or their physical health in a negative
Yeah.
way, what are the first few steps that you would tell someone to do on that journey?
I mean, at no point in any of this do you ever want to feel starved or feel hungry. That's never the point. It has to be as sustainable as possible, meaning the smallest changes incrementally kind of adding up. If you do one thing and then eventually it becomes like as habitual as brushing your teeth, then you can add something else on and then add something else on. And I think the place I start is obviously what do your meals look like right now? Do you have time for like how do you approach eating? Is this something that you do routinely every day with other people alone? Kind of how does that go? Are you the one cooking? Um, and then at the end of the day, it is about kind of managing a little bit of the calorie intake and seeing, if you're going for seconds, are you going more so for carbs? Or are you going for something that has high fiber, vegetable, plant-based? And trying to, I think we can all always eat more plants in general. And that in most cases is really the magic bullet when it comes to feeling satiated, feeling full, um, pooping well, which also plays a part because if we're constipated, that will never be good for our mental health, for our physical health, any of it. Um, and so I think, uh, making sure that a good portion of your meal, the majority of it is some kind of plant-based, bulky, fibrous plant
Mhm.
that takes up a lot of space in our guts, keeps us happy, gives us a lot of vitamins, fiber, and is calorically very poor. So it's uh, in the simplest terms, somewhat of a math game when it comes to that. But again, how you can get there, what little changes you can make, depend on you. But even just starting with one meal a day is something. Yeah,
I love that I have been giving out the correct advice. I
I am
also
not
love
surprised.
I also love this new trend. I mean, I follow a lot of fitness people on Instagram that have the same philosophy as me, and a lot of people are doing the fiber is in, protein's not out. It's just like, let's just focus a little bit more on fiber, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the thing that really helps the most. I think people get really caught up on how much protein do I need to eat? Should I get a shake? Da 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 da. I'm like, how many vegetables do you eat a day? Because me, not many. I need to change that. Right?
Like
So
we
I'm
love our
trying to
protein. We love our protein, but we also really love fiber. It's
yeah,
really
fiber
important.
is
Yeah.
great, and it's really good for making you regular, and it's really good for helping you feel full for
Yep.
longer. And another thing that really I feel like a lot of my clients struggle with is getting really caught up on the small, tiny details. That if you're an Olympic athlete, these things, yeah, they'll make a difference. They'll wipe a millisecond off your time, or you'll sweat
Yeah.
this much more or less, or whatever. But for the average person, I really think the tiny, tiny details don't mean a lot. For example, like meal timing or eating X amount of hours before bed, like, yes, it'll affect your sleep and whatever, but in the grand scheme of things, if you have to do that because of your work schedule or whatever, it's better to just get that meal in than not eat it at all, right?
Yeah. There isn't enough evidence that I'm aware of that I've seen to to make it that prescriptionable, I guess, for lack of a, I just made that word up, but it's it's more so just about being okay that it's not going to be the same every day. And I think we forget that, like, things get in the way, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And nutrition is a tricky thing because you can really become obsessed with it and it can really take over. And it's hard to find a balance sometimes. And I think looking big picture, looking at the lifestyle as a whole, which I'm sure you talk about endlessly, it's the power of getting a good night's sleep versus how many vegetables you eat. Like, sleep is probably way more important. Like,
I literally just designed a shirt that's for sale on my website. If you're listening, people, it says "Sleep like it's an Olympic sport."
I love it.
Because it
It's
is.
facts though. That, like,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about science, like, there's science in sleep, there's science in moving your body. Yeah, there's science in, like, eating more plant foods and things like that. But it's not as detailed as I think we want to make it sometimes. And that's, I think, the difficult thing about nutrition, because we can, you can easily take a pill and you know how much is in it and you know what it'll do, but eating an orange one day will do something to you differently than it will do it another day. Yeah, so it's just, I get that it's a difficult concept for the most people. Most people are frustrated when I tell them these things, and I get it. But that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, been talking about that a lot lately, about how your grandma's advice is right, and it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It's like, drink, drink, get some sleep, and don't stay up too late, and have some fresh fruit and veg from the
Yeah.
garden, and
If you can. Yeah.
that's fine.
And
Speaking of gardens, look at that segue. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
good
Something else?
job. Good job. No.
So you were saying, I was reading in your little form that you filled out for me to come onto the podcast, because I'm professional and I give out forms. Um, something that you're very proud of is helping to start a community garden. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in our population that we work with, colleagues of mine, we're kind of a group of nutritionists, psychoeducators, social workers, different types of healthcare professionals, and we're seeing this theme where we had a lot of single parents, single moms, oftentimes new to the country, oftentimes quite socially isolated, whether they didn't speak the language, just culturally, everything was very new and scary. And sometimes the only time they would really leave the house was to come to their appointments. And we wanted to create our own kind of little community that would get people out for different reasons and would help with some kind of integration, some kind of help with their mental health, help break the isolation, help create new friendships. And so within the community of Parc-Ex, we collaborated with a community garden collective that was kind of on the University of Montreal campus. And it was kind of amazing. Like, we got maybe 5 to 10 parents in the first year, and they would come with their kids. We would farm together. We made a garden.
That's farming.
But we had a bit of land, and these were parents of different backgrounds, different cultures, different languages. But we saw kids become more verbal. We shared food together. We'd have potlucks. We tasted very cool cultural food that I don't think many people got a chance to try before. And we got some really nice feedback. It was also rewarding for us too, because it can be heavy to work in this kind of environment. It's not easy to work with vulnerable populations and to see the kind of difficulties that they go through every day. But it was also a nice break for us. Like, we were spending time outside, we were socializing, we were just, it was work, but it wasn't, kind of thing. And so there was a huge benefit from it. And I'm really happy that I participated. Yeah, it's going to be, hopefully this year will be the third year that it goes on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really do think that, sharing meals is quite a big part of integrating yourself into a community. Like, especially when I moved to Montreal, you know how it is. Everyone goes to the park and you have a little potluck, and that's how you meet friends and things like that. So
Yeah.
that is a fantastic initiative that you had. And I was going to ask you before, you were saying technology helps. A lot of people don't speak the language. Are you literally like Google translating in your appointments?
So, we have like this service at work where there's a phone number that we call, and there's like an interpreter on demand.
Okay, cool.
It's, I think, like all around the world, you just find someone that speaks the language.
Okay.
But when in doubt, we do use Google Translate quite a bit. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, just whatever, however you can get it done, just get it done.
Exactly.
And I wanted to go back quickly about some of the, I guess, FAQs that people probably have asked me personally, and that I'm sure people ask you a lot of. There's a lot of people, you know, they want to get their money's worth, and I'm their one-stop shop for fitness. And then they're like, oh, can I squeeze in some nutrition questions too?
Yeah.
And I always tell them I'm not a dietitian. I technically don't even have a nutritionist certification. Like, we did a little nutrition module in my PT course, but technically I can't help you. I can't give you like official advice, but I can tell you what I do. And a lot of people are always curious as to if, when you're eating a meal, when you finish eating the meal, should you eat until you feel full or stuffed, or a little bit of a hunger signal still at the end of the meal, which you were saying earlier, you shouldn't ever feel like you're hungry. So could you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And it's quite like subjective too, but I think eating until you're comfortably satiated, comfortably full is good. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but it's just like a phenomenon. When you stop eating, you will feel fuller like 15, 20 minutes later. And so giving yourself time to maybe just sit if you're unsure and be like, do I really want more, or am I bored? Is my mouth bored? Am I just trying to take up more time? Like, maybe just wait 20 minutes and see how you feel, because you might be fuller and you might be fine. So yeah, that's
Waiting is a good tip.
Waiting is a good tip. Yeah.
It is a great tip. Yeah, I've heard that one before, and I have tried to practice it before, but sometimes the seconds just look too good. And I guess that the last topic I sort of wanted to explore was one that is obviously close to the population that I work with, and that is nutrition and trans folks, or gender non-conforming folks. And firstly, I wanted to ask if you personally have had clients that identify in that way, and what are some of the biggest problems that they've had, or what are some patterns that you notice with those clients? And if not, was that brought up at all in your learning, or have you sort of gone to seek out any of your own information on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I haven't had the privilege of having anyone be my patient who was trans or going through gender conforming care, and so I can't speak to that, but I can also say that I never learned anything about it in school. So it wasn't that, and that was, quite some years ago. So I guess it's not surprising. But the organization that I work for, within Quebec anyway, has their first diversity inclusion kind of committee, I guess, which is late compared to many other places in the world, but they're starting somewhere. And so I guess I've just had to personally do my own kind of reading and knowledge about it. But because I don't get to practice it, it hasn't come up too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, it is very a specific thing. You can't possibly learn about every single minority in your schooling, which brings me to my other question that I had at the beginning when I just had all these questions in my head was what is the schooling like to get your qualification? Like, what's the length of time? Is it a selective, cohort group of people? Like, what's the
Yeah.
process involved?
It's so I hope that it's changed. But it's basically was quite competitive to get into. So I initially got into the nutrition program, which
Mm.
you needed a less high grade to get into, and then transferred to the dietetic program. Um, but yeah, the schooling is very science based. So anything you need as like a freshman in any kind of medical background. So, doing all of your physics, all of your chems, all of your math, organic, all of these lovely things, biology and all of that. And then a lot of some social science mixed in and very clinical, case based. We did simulations like in a healthcare setting. We had multiple stages every summer where we'd physically be like in the clinic or in the hospital working alongside dietitians. And then by the end, the last stage, we're kind of working quite independently and functioning as a dietitian. So it was grueling. I remember starting the program X amount of people and finishing it with maybe half or something. Like
Wow.
it was tough. A lot of crying.
Oh,
But which is why I hope that things, maybe are a bit better now. I don't know.
that sounds like my university time, and that's why I dropped out.
Yeah.
And now I'm an entrepreneur who didn't finish university. But yeah, no, I don't like traditional learning, and I don't like a lot of traditional things. I don't like a lot of traditional institutions. They just don't work for my brain. But
Yeah.
I'm very I do think that they serve a purpose, and I'm glad that you found yours helpful and you feel supported in the amount of knowledge, the type of knowledge that they gave you. Um,
I definitely have thought about the things that we learned and how we learned them and how wrong some of the things were that we now know. But I guess that's good that we learned
Well,
and
yeah,
things
that's the
actually
thing.
changed.
It's part of a good practitioner is
Yeah,
not being held in those beliefs of like this is how it was when I was in school. Like research changes, research updates. If you don't get with the times, then you shouldn't be practicing anymore. Hence why you
exactly.
have your ongoing learning credits or the
Yeah,
courses that you have to do.
yeah.
Um, so I going back to trans folks who are disproportionately have disproportionately higher numbers of eating disorders in our population, I guess, than Gen Pop. Um, I think about this a lot. It is as someone that like my sort of gender dysmorphia has been convoluted with gender dysphoria for a long time, and I realized after I started taking hormones that it wasn't just gender dysphoria. Like I definitely have some sort of gender dysmorphia,
Mm.
and my family upbringing, my Eastern European family was very much you're a woman, you look like model. Our man will not make you wife. You know what I'm talking
Relatable. Yeah.
about. Right. So like it was pretty bad growing up. Like, like Barker was always like, eat, eat, eat. And then mum was like, well, stop eating if you think you're fat or, and then
Hmm.
I would stop eating. Then I went through my eating disorder phase and she was like, just eat it. Who cares? And then I'm like, well, which one is it?
What do you want from me? Yeah,
Yeah. What do you
yeah.
want from me? Um, Like what sort of do you see a prevalence in eating disorders in the population that you serve, or not so much?
Um, I think I do. It's definitely underdiagnosed. I think it's underdiagnosed in probably like every population. Because I think we disguise a lot of like, oh, but I just do this, or oh, but I just do that, and it's not, but I don't have a problem kind of thing. But I think social media has exponentiated, I think, what we're exposed to when it comes to health and nutrition, and it will inevitably make us think a lot more about these things. And yeah, I think in my setting anyway, with my clients, there's a huge portion of them that have like pretty severe food insecurity, and I like that's a direct cause of you eating less food. But I see parents, I see mothers that will be the ones making that sacrifice versus their kids and other people in the family. But I also see, especially in postpartum, like how can I get back to my weight? Like it's extremely important. Um, and what can I cut? What can I dilute? What can I add water to? What can I and these things kind of come up, and the resources to help someone with an eating disorder also are just not available in the public system that well. Especially if you're an asylum seeker, you don't get access to a family doctor. You can only really see one if you need it urgently. And so we do what we can with what we have, but it's definitely underdiagnosed. And even within like us as health professionals, as people in nutrition, there's always this kind of like, did you go into nutrition because you thought about food too much, or did you start thinking about food too much because you went into nutrition? And I know people, I've experienced it too. Like it's just everyone's got a story, you know?
Yeah.
And it's crazy how everyone has a story,
Yeah.
and no one really tells you that when you start your bachelor's, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You're
it's
really
just
bringing me back to like the first gym that I worked at when I got my qualification when I was in Australia. That was when my sort of eating disordered behaviors began, because yeah, no one tells you how toxic it can be when you go into a new environment. Like,
yeah.
you know, if you're just working at a gym and you're a contractor and you don't really hang out with a lot of the other employees, I can see how you could sort of potentially, sidestep falling into that trap. But I was part of a team, and we'd have meetings and we'd have like a, team education where the sales guy would come and teach us how to close a deal or whatever, because everything's about sales. In that business it was. And the guy coaching us would have like a tub of candy, and if we got an answer right or something, he'd like offer the tub. That'd be like not even crazy, just like a freaking Pez dispenser or like one little individual fun-sized chocolate. And I remember once we were in one of those meetings and no one was saying yes to the candy, and I was like, I'm gonna grab one. And there was a collective, oh, when I put my hand in the bucket. And I was like,
unbelievable.
oh, okay, right. And yeah, and then these things start, and the owners of the gym were like, oh, we don't do dairy or gluten or this, nothing, no processed sugar, da 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 da. Just like cut, 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 cut. And yeah, and then they were like, you should do that too, because you should lead by example for what your clients should be doing. And it was very culty.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
nutrition should never be culty. That is the rule number one. If the nutrition knowledge you're getting is a little culty, it's probably
not good.
Great. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm sure we can talk a lot about red flags about nutrition advice, but I just quickly going back to the eating disorder thing, I want you to maybe give a couple of examples of what would be a clue to maybe go and work with a dietitian that is could be a sign or a symptom that someone is suffering from an eating disorder.
So I think, let's say you have a compulsion to weigh yourself quite a bit. That could be something. If you are I think logging your food and counting your food in such a way that if you miss something, that'll cause you like severe anxiety, or you just can't not do it. I think if you don't want to eat around other people, or just like, I don't know, people are wondering, or like maybe you don't finish your food in front of people, things like that. That could be some signs too. Um, yeah, did that answer was that,
Yeah, those are
yeah,
good
okay,
tips. Those are great.
okay, okay.
And yeah, I think those are really good points, and some things that people might think are normal or normal for them and don't realize that it
Yeah,
could be a sign to go and see a dietitian about it, or talk to their therapist at least first and foremost. And
yes.
then hopefully your therapist can recommend you to go and see a dietitian.
Yeah,
Um,
and to see a dietitian that specializes in it too, because even in
mhm,
school we see a little bit of everything, and you know how doctors they subspecialize and
yeah,
become, you know,
branch out.
they branch out. We don't branch out in school. We branch out in the workplace. So it just, I happen to be in peds, and that's kind of my focus. But some people just do eating disorders their whole careers, and I would 100% send anyone that came my way to go see that person. So
Yeah,
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, referring out is a green flag for me as well. When someone sees someone and they're like, I don't know a lot about this. I'm like, great, that is a good response. I'd rather
yeah,
someone say that than be like, how about you try this? And they have no idea what they're talking about.
exactly.
So I love that. And just quickly, before we wrap up, I wanted to go over a couple of myths
Mm,
that are popular that we were talking about before I started recording. The biggest myth I guess I have is about soy, and how people say, oh, if you drink too much soy or eat too much soy, you're going to grow man boobs, or you're going to increase your estrogen and things like that. Um, Myth or fact?
So I have not done a thesis in this, but I believe it's mostly false. I think when it comes to soy and isoflavones and the potentially like mammary mass growth, that has to do, I think, with this very, very specific type. I might even just no, I don't know if this is true, but it might be a very specific type of uh, genetic kind of predisposition or
Yeah,
something like that. But Gen Pop, like there's nothing wrong about soy.
and
We
putting
we
a
we
big
like
like
it.
hypothesis
Yes, yes, yes. Um,
flashing sign.
it's you can probably just cut it out, but
Yeah.
it's soy is great. It's full of fiber. I love tofu. I love tempeh. I love soybeans, edamame. I love TVP. I think it's probably one of the cheapest proteins you can get.
Mhm.
And we should all be eating a bit more soy. So
I love that.
yeah.
Um, so are there any other myths that, I don't know, you oftentimes hear, maybe not at work, like when you're out at a dinner with friends or at a party, or and you're like, oh my God, I just have to say something. Like, what are the big things that you just can't help but chiming in on when you hear people claim?
Um, I think it's when I hear claims about like uh well, especially when it comes to like kids and stuff, there's this whole like, oh no, you can't give kids this baby cereal because there's chemicals in it. And I think people like to throw around the word chemical. Like, I know what chemicals are. Do you know what chemicals are?
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't sound
um,
like it.
and I think that's the big one. I think whenever I hear someone demonizing like a specific food, I'll just be like, "Mm, what's wrong with a cheeseburger? Like, tell me what's wrong with, like,
Mhm.
I'll just challenge them,
Yeah.
and I'll pick the person that I do that to. But because I think we keep trying to go back to a black and white and classifying it to like what's good and what's bad. But like what's good for someone might be not great for someone else. A burger might be really healing to someone. Because maybe they haven't had one in a really long time and they've worked their way up to having that burger, and then they hear something about like, oh, but like, are you sure you really want to eat that burger? Like, it's just we just don't know what anyone is going through, and we eat for many 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 different reasons, not just to fuel, but socially, culturally, to connect with our people, nostalgia, all of these different things, and we forget that, I think.
Yeah.
And but I get it. Everyone eats, and people just want to know to do about what they eat. And so they have this inclination to read as much as they can or spend too much time on an Instagram reel that's giving them exactly what they want to hear. And I get it.
I think that's really important to point out, is that the influencers know that people just want a black and white answer, and they know that that's what gets the most clicks, the most interactions, the most shares, because people feel some sort of relief when they hear this is the thing. And so they can stop searching finally. You don't have to look into it anymore because this is true in fact. But I think that's my superpower in being like non-binary, not just in my gender, but in my way of thinking as well. I'm like, I'm not just zeros and ones, baby. Like, two truths can be held at the same time. And I watched a really good TikTok video actually a few months ago about this woman who was like, a burger is actually like nutritionally complete. There are different levels of burger, McDonald's burger, gourmet burger, whatever, which I'm sure they have different amounts of fiber and trans fats and blah, 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 blah. But in general, you got your fat, your carb, your protein, fiber, depending on how you've got a pickle, tomato, lettuce. Amazing. You got some veggies in there. So like, why do we think that's so bad? It's because maybe a lot of the time when people are eating that burger, yes, you're also going to have a large fries and a Coke and blah, 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 blah. But who cares if that's what you do once a week and that's your little treat to yourself? If it's not harming your life in any way, then just keep having the little treat, I think.
A pizza is also quite nutritionally complete.
Exactly.
Like there are many examples of that. So
I love that. I love that we're on point. Just before we wrap up, is there anything today that you wanted to talk about but we didn't make time for?
I don't think so. I really enjoyed the topics, the flow. I liked the humor spun in. I liked it was great. I think it was a great time. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. This has been very fun, and I can't wait for the next one because this is a lot of truth bombs. So I hope that people write into the comments what their favorite part was, if myths were answered for them, if this was everything you already knew. Good for you, big brain. So thank you very much, Vero, for joining me and everyone that's listening or watching on YouTube. Thank you for your insights and sharing your successes and your community care. Like, it's fantastic, and it's one of my sort of biggest philosophies in life is just community is so important, and we need to be supporting each other. And I knew that you were awesome before this interview, and now I think even more highly of you. So thank you for sharing that with me. If you want to support your local dietitian, please go and make an appointment with one, people. And if you're listening, whether you are a clinician, a community worker, or someone just trying to make sense of your own health journey, I hope that you leave this episode with a bit more context, a bit more compassion, and maybe even a new idea on how to show up for people who need it most. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and if you know someone who'd make a great guest, hit me up. I'll catch you next time on the Resilient Fitness Revolution. Thank you so much.